We are discussing now CA final, advanced auditing assurance and professional ethics. Module number 1. First, let us understand what are the chapters out there. Quality control. In quality control, audit quality control for firms that performs audit and review historical and financial information and other assurance and related service engagements, element system of quality control, and quality control for an audit of the financial statements, leadership responsibility for quality of audits, and the relevant ethical requirements. అన్న జొల్లగడ్డ శ్రీనివాస్ అన్న, గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ అన్న. ఆడిటింగ్ డిస్కస్ చేస్తానన్నా. Janlagadi Srinivasana, good morning. Friends, now first let us overview of the advanced auditing and assurance standards. Anna, good morning. Janlagadi Srinivasana, good morning. Friends, let's to understand the overview of the chapters in the entire advanced auditing and professional ethics. In the first chapter is quality control. In that, what are the chapter overview contents I'm going to read, and then one by one we'll see. First, audit quality, and then in audit quality, SQC, standard quality control 1. Anna, you are my inspiration, Anna. Thank you, Anna. And SQC, quality control for firms that firm perform audit review historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagements. Element of the system of the quality control, and SA standards on auditing 220 speaks 220 quality control for an audit of the financial statements, leadership responsibility for the quality audits, and the relevant ethical requirements, assurance, assignment and engagement teams, engagement performance, and engagement quality control review, monitoring, documentation, SQC1 versus say 220 key differences in the nature and scope and audit applicability, and mechanism for review of the quality control, and peer review board and quality review board and national financial reporting authority. These are the contents, my dear friends, and then once we just overview these chapters, and then we will discuss great a lot on these matters, my dear friends. You will understand more comfortably once we cross the all today target is working. First, our target is to complete the module 1, and then thereafter we'll complete the module 2, module 3, everything, my dear friends. So, we'll speed and accuracy and very comfortably will lead the chapters. You just be online, and then you'll understand the depth of the matter later on, not immediately. So, if you comes to the chapter 2, it is a overview of the general auditing principles and responsibilities, and SA 240, auditor responsibility relating to the fraud and in an audit of the financial statement, and the objectives of the auditor in accordance with SA 240, and how fraudulent financial reporting may be cashed by entities, and how misappropriation of assets by accomplished by entities, and whose primary responsibility is to prevent and detect fraud, and responsibility of the auditor, and maintaining the professional skepticism, and discussion among the engagement team, and risk assessment procedures related to the activities, and geared towards obtaining the information for use, identifying the risk material misstatement due to fraud, responses to the assessed risk of material misstatement due to fraud in the financial statement level, audit procedures responsive to assess the risk of material misstatement due to due to fraud in the financial due to fraud in the assertion level, audit procedures responsive to the risk related to the management and override the control, and the evaluations of the audit evidences, and circumstances in which auditor is unable to continue the engagement and management representation, and communications to the management and to those charged with the governance, and the communication to the regulatory and enforcement authorities. So for that, what you need to do, documentation. uh, so if you see the SA 250, it speaks about the considerations of the laws and regulations audit of the financial statement, effect of the laws and regulations of the financial statement of an entity, objective of the auditor in accordance with the SA 250, and responsibility of the management for compliance with the laws and regulations, and responsibility of the auditor, and audit procedures when non-compliance is identified or suspected, and reporting of identified or suspected non-compliance, documentation, and if you go by SA 216, and communication with those charged with the governance, objectives of auditor in accordance with the SA 216, and matters to be communicated by the auditor, communications of the auditor, independence in case of the listed entities, and documentation. If you go by SA 299, joint audit, and joint audit of the financial statements and objectives of the in accordance with SA 299, and audit planning, risk assessment, and allocation of work, and responsibility and coordination of the among joint auditors, and audit conclusions and reporting, and communications with those charged with the governance. SA 402, audit considerations relating to an entity using a service organization, objectives of users, objectives of user auditor in accordance with SA 402, and the type 1 report and type 2 report, obtaining the understanding of the services. These are the discussions, my friend, in the chapter 2. And apart from that, there will be like using type 1 and type 2 report, and responding to assess the risk of the material misstatement, test controls, and fraud, non-compliance with the laws and regulations, and uncorrected misstatements in relation to the activities of the service of the organization, and reporting by the auditor. So all these we'll discuss in the chapter 2. And if you come to the chapter 3 is the planning, strategy, and execution. In this chapter, the overview of the chapter is it is a company audit and benefits, commencing of an audit, and advantages of the planning in an audit of the financial statement, nature and extent of the planning. And the planning is a continuous process, and the overall strategy and audit plan responsibility. Good morning to everyone. This is yours, people's advocate Sriman Narayana Malala is talking here. SCA 250, consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of the financial statements, effect of laws and regulations of the financial statement of an entity, objectives of auditor in accordance with SCA 250, responsibility of the management for compliance with the laws and regulations, responsibility of the auditor, audit procedure when non-compliance is identified or suspected, reporting of identified or suspected non-compliance, documentation, and SA 260 communications communication with those charged with governance. Objectives of auditor in accordance with SA 216, matters to be communicated by the auditor. Communication of auditor independence in case of listed entities. Documentation. SA 299. Joint audit of the financial statements objectives in accordance with SA 299. Audit planning, risk assessment, and allocation of work. Responsibility and coordination among joint auditors. Joint conclusion and reporting. Communication with those charged with governance. SCA 402. Audit considerations relating to an entity using a service organization. Objectives of user auditor in accordance with SCA 402. Type 1 report and Type 2 report. Obtaining an understanding of the services. Using Type 1, Type 2 report and responding to the assessed risk of material misstatement. Test of controls. Fraud, non-compliance with the laws and regulations, and uncorrected misstatements in relation to activities at the service organization. Reporting by the user auditor. Audit planning, strategy, and execution. Learning outcome. Chapter overview. Commencing an audit. Benefits, advantages of planning in an audit of the financial statements. Nature and extent of planning. Planning is a continuous process. Overall audit strategy and audit plan. Responsibility of the auditor. Acceptance and continuance of the client relationship and audit engagements. And contents of an audit plan. Changes to planning decisions. Overall audit strategy. Overall audit strategy. The factors while establishing overall audit strategy. Benefits of the overall audit strategy. Considerations in establishing the overall audit strategy. Documenting the audit plan. Relationship between the overall audit strategy and audit plan. Audit program. Formulating an audit program. Drawing up the audit program. Audit execution and execution planning, risk and control evaluation, testing, reporting, other important considerations. Test. See, the moment we step into the NASH H1 17 Wi-Fi 5, good morning, and relationship between the overall audit strategy and the audit plan, audit program, formulating an audit program, drawing up the audit program, audit execution, execution planning, risk and control evaluation, testing, reporting, other important considerations. Materiality, risk assessment, and internal uh, control, materiality and risk assessment, identification of risk, audit risk components, steps for risk identification, risk-based audit approach, audit risk analysis, general steps in conducted risk-based audit, internal control system, nature, scope, objectives, and structure, nature of internal control. Scope of internal control, objectives of internal control system, structure of internal control, components of internal control, control environment, entity risk assessment process, control activities, information system including the related business process and the relevant financial reporting and communication, monitoring of the control, review of the system of internal controls, and internal control assessment and evaluation, techniques of evaluation of the internal control, reporting to clients on internal control weaknesses, framework of internal control, and international internal control framework, audit evidence. Audit evidence, audit evidence, learning outcome, chapter overview. SCF 500 audit evidence, 501 audit evidence, specific considerations for selected items. SCF 505 external confirmation. SCF 510 initial audit engagement opening balances. SCF 530 audit sampling. SCF 550 related parties. Uh, Chapter 6 compliance review. Learning outcome. 560 subsequent events. 570 going concern. 580 written representations. And chapter 7 reporting. Learning outcome. Introduction. The auditor reporting financial statement. SA 700 framing an opinion and reporting on the financial statement. Purpose. Basic elements of the audit report. Audit report prescribed by laws and regulations. Auditor's report for audit conducted in accordance with the both standards on auditing issued by ICA and international standards auditing standards in any other jurisdiction, and supplementary information passed by with the financial statements. Financial statements, supplementary information presented with the financial statements. SAS 701 communicating the key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. Purpose, scope, determining the key audit matters, communicating the key audit matters. SCS 705 modifications to the opinion in the independent auditor's report, types of the modified opinion, objective, and the circumstance when a modifications to the auditor opinion required, determining the type of modifications to the auditor's opinion, consequences of an inability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidences due to management imposed limitations after the auditor has accepted the engagement if the auditor decides to withdraw, and other considerations relating to an adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion, form and content of the auditor's report within the opinion is modified, communication with those charged with governance. SA 706 emphasis of the matter paragraph and other matter paragraph in the independent auditor's report, objective, and when to give emphasis matter paragraph. అయ్యయ్యో. Materiality, risk assessment, and internal control. Materiality, risk assessment, identification of risk, audit risk components, steps for risk identification, risk-based audit approach, audit risk analysis, and general steps in the conduct of risk-based audit. Internal control system, nature, scope, objective, and structure. Nature of internal control. Scope of internal control, objectives of internal control system, structure of internal control, components of internal control, control environment, entity risk assessment process, control activities, information system, including the related business process relevant to financial reporting and communication, monitoring of controls, review of the system of internal control assessment and evaluation, techniques of the evaluation of the internal control, reporting to the clients on internal control weaknesses, and the framework of the internal controls, and international internal control framework. Audit evidence, learning outcome, SCF 500 audit evidence, SCF 501 audit evidence, specified considerations for selected items, SCF 505 external confirmation, SCF 510 initial audit engagement opening balances, SCF 530 audit sampling, SCF 550 related parties, SCF 560 subsequent events, SCF 570 going concern, SCF 580 written representations. Reporting, including the auditor's report on financial statements, SCF 700 forming an opinion and reporting on the financial statements purpose, basic elements of the audit report, auditor's report prescribed by laws and regulations, and auditor report audit concluded in accordance with the both standards on auditing issued by the ICA and international standards on auditing standards in any other jurisdiction. Supplementary information prescribed with the financial statements, communicating the key audit matters in the independent auditor's report, purpose, scope, determinations of the key audit matters, and communicating the key audit matters. As 705 modifications to the opinion in the independent auditor's report, types of the modified opinions, objective, circumstance when modifications to the auditor opinion are required, determining the type of the modifications to the auditor opinion, consequences of an audit, consequences of an inability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidences due to management imposed limitations after the auditor has accepted the engagement, if the auditor decides to withdraw, and other considerations relating to an adverse opinion or disclosure of the opinion, form and content of the auditor's report when the opinion is modified, communications with those charged with governance, SA 706 emphasis of the matter paragraph and other matter paragraph in the independent acts report, objectives, when to give emphasis of the matter paragraph in the auditor's report, when the auditor includes an emphasis of the matter paragraph in the auditor's report, the auditor shall distinction between notes on accounts and qualifications, distinction between audit report and certificates, communications to the management and to those charged with governance. When all of those charged with governance are involved in management of the entity, matters to be communicated, plan and scope and timing of the audit, significant finding from the audit, reporting requirement, case of comparative information, audit procedures for comparative information, audit reporting, SCS 720, the auditor responsibilities relating to other information and objective, obtaining the other information, responding to the when material inconsistency appears to exist, other information appears to be materially misstated, responding when the auditor concludes that material misstatement of the other information exists, responding when the material misstatement in the financial statements exists, or the auditor's understanding of the entity and its environment needs, reporting, reporting prescribed by law and regulation, duties of the auditor, reporting under CARO 2020, illustrative audit reports. Oh, wow. Chapter Overview: Quality Control SQC1 SA 220. Quality Control firms that perform audit and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagements. Quality control for an audit of the financial statements. So, CA Jagrati is a working in a firm, a chartered accountants in capacity of the paid employee. The firm consists of 7 partners, is handling varied type of the professional work, including audits. There is a growing rapidly, and many new clients have been added to the client base of firm in past 2 3 years. In the hindsight, she is working whether it was a proper and part of the firm to accept new clients without checking and verifying about their backgrounds. Besides, she also feels that firm is accepting audits of some companies which are engaged in the technical and complex operations. The firm has no past experience for audits of such clients. As audit of such clients, the partners also seemed to be sitting in hiring experienced and capable staff to handle such work in her mind. She always invested, she always lamented about the same. Our commercial considerations, deciding and overriding factors, she was brooding. Increase in volume of the professional work without commensurate hiring of capable and qualified staff is leading to many lapses. She had handled audit of the listed company. The audit was issued under the Companies Act 2013, referred to the profit of the financial statements. However, audited financial statements reflected loss. She developed cold feet and cursed lack of the proper quality control system in the firm. Similarly, in another case, she found that issued audit report of the company referred to cash flow statement, whereas audited financial statement didn't comprise of cash flow statement as it was a small company within the meaning of the Companies Act 2013. She had made up her mind to make a senior partner listen to her, inviting attention to such serious lapses in reporting. She policy told her that firm was inviting troubles from regulators. She underlined need for a proper and effective quality control system in the firm to ensure the work was carried out in accordance with the professional standards and applicable legal and regulatory framework so that audit report that is appropriate is issued. Audit quality. High audit quality is a central to auditing position. It helps in creating a trust in users of the financial information, industry, government, and public at large, who are the stakeholders who relied upon assurance given by the auditor. It is therefore necessary to ensure high quality throughout the audit process. Audit quality involve application of rigorous audit process by auditor and quality control procedures that comply with laws, regulations, and applicable professional standards. SQC1 quality control for firm that perform auditor audits and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagements. And SA 220 quality control for an audit of the financial statements deal with issuance of establishing quality control systems and responsibilities of auditors in this regard. Both these standards deal with framework of quality, audit quality. SQC1 applies to all engagements and deals with quality at level of firm. SA 220 deals with audit quality at individual audit engagement level. Besides above two standards, other standards and auditing code of ethics issued by ICAI and certain provisions of the Companies Act 2013 facilitate quality control process. There also exists mechanism for review of quality control through peer review board, quality review board, and NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. SQC1 quality control for firms that perform audits and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagements. SQC1 requires that the firm should establish a system of quality control designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and is a personal capacity, see, personal comply with the professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements. And the reports issued